Listen, I don't care what anybody says. Shin has earned his just desserts here. After having an entire solo arc dedicated to Shin going through the prison, Shin being able to outsmart a character like Joe Shackles, this sub-order level member assassin. You also have Shin being able to use his ESP, the full potential of it, to even conquer and beat Tenkyu, a character in Slur's group that might have been one of the strongest characters in his group. Shin was not only able to beat him, but Shin, over the course of the series, has strived for a moment like this, where Sakamoto is down on his luck and unable to protect the people he cares about. He's unable to help the country that he lives in when it needs him most. Shin, his sidekick, the person that has been by Sakamoto's side since day one, has finally earned his chance to step up and replace Sakamoto's shoes, even if it's only temporary. And personally, I think Shin's struggle against Uzuki here is fitting, earned, and justified at this point in the story. 215 chapters later, we have a Shin that, while Shin realistically stands no chance against a threat like Uzuki, even not including Takamura here, Uzuki was literally overwhelming Shin at a point where Shin was forced to keep his bloodlust down and was on the back foot the entire time. The only thing Shin really did that was impressive was survive, and that is exactly what Shin continues to do in this chapter, which is even more astounding considering Shin is doing this now against Takamura Uzuki. Hey guys, real quick, if you want to support the channel, make sure you go down to gamersubs.gg/noop and get 10% off your nootropics and energy supplement fix. And we'll get back to the video. The soul of Takamura, one of the strongest characters, if not the strongest character, that even Nagumo, Peak Sakamoto, and Uzuki weren't able to stand against. Shin realizes that he is cooked here. That's why Shin was doing everything he could to not show any bloodlust to Uzuki in their previous scuffle. However, now that the Sharks were willing to do it, it isn't saying that Uzuki couldn't kill Shin without Takamura, right? Shin was most likely going to get cooked by Uzuki if that shark didn't show up. However, now that Takamura is present, it gives Shin an advantage in one area while giving him a disadvantage in almost every other area. While Shin is going to be having no chance in hell of standing up against Takamura, to the point that every small little movement and action that they do is almost instant death for him. However, now that Takamura, who just fights off of bloodlust, fights off of sensing bloodlust, he's not going to take down any kind of innocent. He's going to take down whoever is throwing anger or emotion his way, which plays into Shin's advantage, because if it was just Shin, he was the only target, he definitely would have a sword through his chest in no time. However, people getting mad at Takamura because Takamura made their kids cry, assassins showing up to help Master X because they don't realize that Takamura has taken over him yet, and showing their bloodlust to Shin act as perfect decoys for Shin to survive. Because again, no matter what you want to say about the power scaling in this series, whether you agree that Shin should be able to fight Uzuki at this point or not, even in the last portion, Shin is on the back foot and is only surviving because of these deus ex machinas that keep appearing every step of the way. If it wasn't for the kids, if it wasn't for these assassin decoys and the NPCs, Shin literally would be a disembodied head right now, just like all of the other people. Considering that Takamura is quite literally taking his sword like a golf club and just full on Tiger Woods putting and foring heads through people, by the way, not as a donut, but cutting people in half with other heads. If you can't see the power difference here, I mean, sheesh. Again, I think it is commendable that Shin is able to survive even this chapter alone. And you even have Shin, by the end of it, wishing and hoping that someone comes to help him, because he knows he is out of his depth. He knows he has no chance in hell of surviving this encounter any longer than he already has. He is moments away from becoming one of the corpses that is littering this whole entire aquarium, because Shin is only able to escape for 5 to 10 seconds before Takamura Uzuki literally slaughters every single assassin in the building. And in no time, a sea of blood emerges, and Takamura breaks through the sea of blood to then just start slaughtering everybody in his wake, which Now that Shin is the only person left, Shin has nowhere to hide, and that target is going to be directly Shin. With Kindaka, Heisuke, all of the people that went to go help Shin before knocked out from the giant jet plane crash, there really isn't anyone that is able to come save Shin in this moment. Even so, Shin prays that Sakamoto is going to be here. That could be pure delusion. If anything, if anybody that didn't think Shin deserved to be having this moment is reading this, Shin calling for Sakamoto here is honestly a character regression. It shows how much panic that Shin is feeling and how much he knows he has no chance in surviving this split-second moment here. Shin knows Sakamoto, who is literally traumatized beyond belief and cannot fight, is his only chance of surviving this encounter. Because with the cliffhanger showing Shin putting all of his effort into his ESP and speeding it as fast as possible to get to Uzuki's mind was still too slow. Uzuki Takamura was able to move and slash his blade so fast, Shin couldn't even complete the word freeze before his neck was cut. And in a reminiscent cliffhanger to Jujutsu Kaisen, a great reference here, we are left to wonder, is this the end of Shin Asakura? I know a lot of people have been questioning that Sakamoto Days has low stakes. It feels like everyone is going to survive, not everyone is going to die. And it makes me wonder, what and where would the story go if Shin died here? Is Shin's sacrifice enough to put Sakamoto in his place and make him realize that he needs to step up and get out of this PTSD trigger that he's in currently? Is the death of Shin giving his all to pick up the slack for Sakamoto, this person that has stayed by his side for the last 200 chapters and now was forced to do what Sakamoto should have been doing all along? It should be Sakamoto fighting Uzuki here, yet Shin needed to pick up the slack. Is that guilt enough to pull Sakamoto out of the depths? I personally would love to see where that story goes. Now, obviously, this is Shin here, the deuteragonist of the entire series. Shin just spent an entire arc developing himself and growing to become powerful enough to stand by Sakamoto's side, to be able to do what he did before by eliminating almost all of the guns and collaborating with Shiba unknowingly to thwart Uzuki's plan. Is that enough of a payoff that Shin can rest after this? Or will people call that a wasted character arc if Shin dies here? I personally don't know, and I'd be excited to hear what you guys think, because again, there's people on two sides of the fence. There's people that think Shin is right now getting too much plot armor and is being carried by the story to be able to be even facing a character like Uzuki right now. But there's also people like me that think Shin is fully earned and has developed into his own character, and this is fully justified. Where do those two parties meet if Shin dies? Where do those two parties meet if Shin lives here? Does that prove Sakamoto has no stakes? Does that prove that Sakamoto is always going to come and protect Shin? And is that a regression of his character when Shin has done enough to stand up on his own? Honestly, wherever it goes, I'm excited to see where Yuto Suzuki takes us. Because whatever anybody says, I've been loving Sakamoto Days, and this chapter was just another, great chapter in my eyes. And I am more than happy to know that Suzuki is putting in his whole entire bussy to these chapters. So generally speaking, I'm excited to see where we go next chapter, whether Shin lives or dies. And if you guys are too, know I'll be here every chapter covering the series with you. So hit that like button if you enjoyed the content, and hit the subscribe button because the YouTube algorithm loves that, and it makes sure that you won't miss any future Sakamoto Days videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace, peace. Oh my god, I hit the mic. That's probably loud as hell at the end. I'm sorry. What a way to end it. I'm so sorry. Wow. Peace.